This video is about storyboards. What are storyboards? Well, storyboards are essentially sequential actions in visual form. So you'd be familiar with sequential images telling a story from such examples as comics and cartoons. In comic form, of course, you see sequences of images which create a narrative, which tell a story. And this is a technique that's made common use of in things like planning movies, advertising, and other types where visual storytelling is an important part of the medium. Now, industrial designers can use similar techniques to study how a task is executed or a product is used. Now, a big part of this is user observation. And let's begin to look at user observation. This is an important part of the research phase of the design process. And so we can use storyboards to gather and examine how something is used. Studying users is an important thing to do because what they do and how they do it can sometimes surprise us. Sometimes industrial designers have an idealized image of how products are used, and the real life can be quite different. Design storyboards allow us to study real-world usage and to do a step-by-step observation of these things, to document each action, each part of the process, and the more detail that we go into, the more insight we can find out about the process and the product that we're analyzing and designing. So storyboards just help document our observations, and they also help us observe keenly and finely. Let's have a look at a familiar example, making a cup of tea. I'll start by photographing each step of the tea making process. For example, we're going to go to the kettle. We're going to then get the teapot. Now, there is more than one way of doing most actions. You should start by specifying one particular approach in your documentation, and you can look at variations later if necessary. So I'm documenting one particular approach. Here I am getting some tea from the cupboard, getting a teacup or mug, filling the kettle, taking it to the sink and turning on the tap and filling it. You should make a note of any questions and decisions that the user must make. For example, how much water should we put into the kettle? Should we fill the kettle to the top or just put barely enough water to make the cup of tea? So we put the kettle back on the power base and then turn it on. While the water is heating, add tea leaves to the pot. Get milk from the fridge. Some people add milk to the cup after the tea. I usually add it first. How much milk should I put in? Well, experience guides my choice here. Return the milk to the fridge and wait for the kettle to boil. Pour the boiling water into the kettle after it's boiled and then wait for the tea to steep. How long should I wait? I can judge the strength of the tea by the colour of the water in the kettle. Finally, when I think it's ready, place the teapot on the cup. This teapot has a valve in the base which releases tea into the cup through the bottom. Watch the cup fill with hot tea, not too much, or it will overflow. And now I have my cup of tea ready to drink. So we've recorded most of the steps. In this example, I didn't show every discrete step in order to keep this video short. Considering each small action takes more time, but it can teach you more about the process and help you design a better product in the long run. Let's take these images and arrange them in our DDR to document every step of the process. Lay out the photos on A3 paper to go into your design development record. Add comments and observations for each step. Again, more detail gives you more opportunity for valuable insights. Keep going until you've documented every step of the task. Make notes of information the user needs to make decisions. For example, here, trying to make the decision about how much water should go into the kettle. What knowledge, judgments and skills are needed to do the task well? For example, you need to know how to handle boiling water so you don't get burnt. How much hot water should you put in the teapot? And so on. So what steps did you find out? Are there steps that could be improved? These are the kind of questions that you ask yourself after you've documented the process. You can make documenting the process more effective if you follow some photographic tips. Lighting is always important. Watch out for shadows that obscure details. In general, more light is better. Plenty of light lets you see small details. Just like sketching, good photography is as much about what you leave out of the image as what you put in. But before you start photographing a process, try to remove everything from a scene that isn't necessary. With all distractions removed, you're ready to begin. Make sure you have all the necessary pieces of equipment before you begin. You can place this paraphernalia within reach or include retrieval as part of the process that you're documenting. You have a number of choices when it comes to making a photographic record of the process. A tripod is a very useful tool for taking photos of yourself doing a task. You will probably need to reposition the tripod and camera numerous times to capture all parts of the operation, especially if both hands are occupied. Use the self-timer feature of your camera app to delay the photo until you compose yourself mid-task. You can use more specialized equipment to keep your hands free. I used a head-mounted GoPro in time-lapse mode to automatically take photos every 5 seconds. This approach lets you document a sequence quite naturally, but it can make you look a bit strange. By far the best option is to get someone to help. Either photograph them doing the task or get them to photograph you. Remember to shoot details in close-up as well as overall shots. The more information you record, the more likely you are to gain useful insights into the design task, as well as a useful stock of images to draw on later, literally, for the other stages of the project. The effort it takes to set up and shoot storyboard images and the low cost of digital photography means it makes a lot of sense to take many more photos than you think you'll need. This can avoid time-consuming reshoots. Storyboards need not be restricted to still images. It's quite possible to use video and other moving images such as GIFs and live photos to document product use. Video can vividly capture elements of the experience that would be lost in a still image. Not only that, but special filming modes such as time-lapse or high-speed video can make hidden aspects more apparent. In this example, the high-speed video played back at normal speed to produce slow motion reveals the flickering light around the kettle switch and the way the switch is triggered when the water reaches boiling point. Designers sometimes refer to storyboards of product operations as sequence of use diagrams. Sequence of use images enable storyboards to be used not only in the investigation phase, but also in the communication of the design concepts in later project phases. It's quite an easy matter to photograph simulated use of a design proposal using mock-ups and appearance models and trace them to create step-by-step illustrations of product operation. Here's an example of just this approach from a first-year student project. This is a rice cooker. This sequence of use illustrates the procedure of using the rice cooker. This one shows key features of a pet transport product by showing how the product would be used in practice. This makes the benefits of the design very easy to grasp. Let's review. Storyboards are a useful part of product research. They show sequences of actions and they help study and document products in use. They can communicate how a design is used, which makes it very easy for a client and indeed end users to understand what's happening. I hope you found this useful and look forward to using these techniques in your design work.